Good morning class. Today we are going to have class 9 chapter number 3 drainage lecture number 1. Now in this chapter we are going to study what is the meaning of the word drainage. We are going to know new words like drainage basin, water divide, the different drainage systems in India and the different drainage patterns. First of all we are going to see what is the meaning of drainage. Drainage means a river system of an area, not only a single river but the whole system of an area is known as drainage. We can say the drainage basin also. It can be said as drainage basin. So now whenever we are going to define the word drainage basin, it can be that a river along with its tributaries and distributaries is known as the drainage basin or the river system of an India. Now the second word here comes the water divide. Water divide. As that word says water divide, it divides the water part into two parts. Water divide means whenever you have an mountain or an upland, whenever the river comes from here, it will be separated into the two parts from this peak. So water divides, definition of water divide will be that when a mountain or an upland separates the drainage system into two parts is known as water divide. Now water, as we have understand that what is drainage basin, what is water divide, we have different drainage systems in India. There are two types of drainage systems in India. The first is the Himalayan rivers and secondly the Peninsula river. We have two parts here, the Himalayan rivers the Peninsula rivers. Whenever you are talking about the two drainage systems in India, they are influenced by the physical features of India. Physical features, as we can say, the Peninsula Plateau, the Himalayan mountains, the coastal plains, the islands, these all physical features influence these drainage system and divides them into two parts, that is Himalayan rivers and the Peninsula rivers. Himalayan rivers, as the name says, it has its origination from the Himalayan mountains. Because they are coming from the Himalayan mountains, they are named as Himalayan rivers. And when we talk about the Peninsula rivers, they are originating from the Peninsula Plateau. And in the Peninsula Plateau, it consists of Western Ghats and Central Highlands. This was a major difference between these two river systems. But there are other bases of also differences between these two rivers which we are going to understand one by one. The first point here comes is the point of origin. What is the point of origin of Himalayan rivers and what is the point of origin of the Peninsula rivers? Point of origin of Himalayan rivers, origination I firstly said that it comes from the Himalayan mountains and Peninsula rivers come from the Peninsula Plateau. Secondly, the point of origin can be that Himalayan rivers are formed by the glaciers which are formed on the Himalayan mountains. Like these are the mountains, the glaciers, as the glaciers start melting, they come out in the form of Himalayan rivers. So here the point of origin we can also say that Himalayan rivers are from the part of glaciers and as well as rainfall also. Whereas the Peninsula rivers are only dependent on the rainfall. Because it is a Peninsula Plateau, it is a plateau region, they are only dependent on rainfall. Whenever they will receive rainfall, these rivers are going to continue. So this was the first point, the point of origin. Secondly, here we have the source of water. What can be the source of water? So I firstly said in the point of origin that they are formed from the glaciers and the rainfall. So the Himalayan rivers will have the source of water from glaciers and rainfall. The same point will be coming here that they will receive water from the glaciers. As the glaciers will melt, they will get water and the river rainfall as well. And the Peninsula rivers will depend on the rainfall only. These 2 points are clear, point of origin and source. Third point here we have the nature of the Himalayan rivers. Now what can be the nature of Himalayan rivers? Nature can be that these Himalayan rivers are perennial rivers. Perennial rivers means as the glaciers will melt, the water will be running out. So this nature of the Himalayan rivers is that they are perennial. And as well as peninsular rivers are confirmed, they are seasonal rivers. Seasonal rivers means whenever there will be rainfall, they will receive water as well. So we can say them to seasonal rivers. Now the next point, here we come to the different courses. Now what can be the course of Himalayan rivers and what will be the course of peninsular rivers? As we know that the glaciers melting comes water from the Himalayan rivers, the course of the rivers will be long. We have long course. And as long course as the glaciers melted and as the rivers come out, they will bring a lot of silt and sand with them, which will help in the erosional activity also. What will they bring? Silt and sand, and this will help in the erosional activity. Okay, so this was the course of Himalayan rivers, that it had a long course, it brought a lot of silt and sand, and it helped in the erosional activity. Whereas in peninsular rivers, we have a shorter course because they are just dependent on the rainfall. When they will receive less rainfall, they will have less water, and when they will receive high rainfall, they will going to have much of water. So the course of the perennial rivers will be short course. The next point here, that what will be the drainage systems? What will be the drainage system? Now what is the point of Himalayan rivers? That the most of the rivers, they flow towards eastwards and they drain into Bay of Bengal. Flows towards east and drain in Bay of Bengal. But here I have said that most of the rivers. So here we also have exceptions also. So in this exception we can give an example of Indus river, which flows in the west part and which drains into the Arabian Sea. So here we have an exception also, that is in the Indus river. Okay, most of the rivers flows towards east and drains into Bay of Bengal, but there is some rivers which flows towards west and they drain into the Arabian Sea also. And as we will see of the peninsular rivers, they also flow towards east and drain into Bay of Bengal. But here, as we saw the exception in the Himalayan rivers, we also here have the exception, which is Narmada and Tapi, which are flowing towards the west and draining into the Arabian Sea. So in this Himalayan rivers and peninsular, we have two exceptions, the Indus river for the Himalayan rivers, and peninsular rivers we have Narmada and Tapi. Then other features what we can see here is apart from all these features that we can be point of origin, the sources, the course, the drainage system, we have other features also, that these Himalayan plains forms flood plains. Flood plains oxbow lakes and meanders. Whereas for peninsular rivers, we have the formation of estuaries. Okay, so these differences are clear. For the features of Himalayan rivers, we had the formation of flood plains, oxbow lakes and meanders, and for peninsular rivers, we had the formation of estuaries. Now we can see what can be the examples of Himalayan rivers. Example, we can give Ganga, Brahmaputra, Indus, Yamuna, all these rivers. And for peninsular rivers, we can have Narmada, Godavari and Krishna. Himalayan rivers, Ganga, Brahmaputra, Yamuna, etc. And for the peninsular rivers, we talked about the Narmada, the Tapi, etc. So these were the points of differences between these two rivers, including the point of origin, the course of the rivers, the drainage system. Now we have studied what is drainage basin, what is water divide, what are the different drainage systems in India, and what are the major differences between these two. Now we are going to see the drainage pattern, that what type of drainage patterns are formed by these drainage systems. Now drainage pattern is influenced by many things. First of all, it is influenced by the climatic conditions. What is the temperature, what is the weather? It influences the drainage pattern. Secondly, it also depends upon the slope of the land. What a type of slope the land is having, and what is the rock structure, what type of rocks are found there. It depends, it decides the drainage pattern of India. So, drainage pattern depends upon the slope of the land, the rock structure and the climatic conditions. In this diagram, we had 4 types of drainage patterns. The first is the dendritic, second one is the trellis, third is the rectangular, and fourth is the radial. So these are the 4 drainage patterns which are found in India: dendritic, trellis, rectangular and the radial drainage system. Now one by one we are going to study these 4 parts. First of all, we are going to talk about the dendritic system. Now when we are talking about the dendritic drainage pattern, this is the river flows with slope and terrain. Slope of terrain means it is flowing on the slope of the land, and it looks like the branches of a tree. Like we have here a tree and there are different branches, okay. So like this makes the formation of dendritic pattern. Dendritic pattern looks like the branches of the tree. It flows from slope of land, looks like branches of tree. Like how tree has with its branches, the same formation is here for the dendritic drainage pattern. Secondly, we have the trellis. Trellis drainage pattern, these are made of hard and soft rock which exist parallel to each other. Means this is the hard rock, this is the soft rock, like this, okay, like this one. So here we have the hard rock, the soft rock, then the hard rock, the soft rock, which are working parallel to each other. So these are what they happen, that when the hard and the soft rocks are existing or they are working parallel to each other, the tributaries are formed at the right angle. Wherever the right angle is formed, the tributaries are joined at right angle. So what happens here, that the hard and soft rock are parallel to each other, and secondly the tributaries formed at right angle. So this was the trellis drainage pattern, that hard and soft rocks are parallel to each other. Secondly, the tributaries are formed at the right angle. Then we can see the rectangular part. The rectangular drainage pattern, as the name says, that it forms a rectangle portion. It forms like this. Like this. This is the rectangular pattern of drainage system. Now what this happens, it develops on the strongly jointed rocks where the river do not take any part. Means here we have like these are the rocks, these are strongly jointed with each other. So what happens, whenever the river comes from here, when it finds a strongly jointed rock here, it will change its course and it will blow like this. It will again see the strong jointed rock, and again it will change its course. So like this it forms a rectangle part. So that we can say a rectangular drainage pattern. So whenever strongly jointed rocks are found, there we have the rectangular drainage pattern. And last but not the least, we have the radial. River flowing from central peak to different directions. Now whenever the river starts flowing from a central peak, it goes into the different directions. It do not have a same course, but it will go to different directions also. So rivers flowing from peak to different directions. So these were the four drainage patterns: the dendritic one, the trellis, the rectangular and the radial drainage pattern, which are found in India. Now we are going to study river system by one. The first river system we have the Indus river system, which is included in the Himalayan river system. Indus river system. Whenever you are talking about the Indus river system, now what is the origination, where it runs, what tributaries and what distributaries join this river system, we are going to study it one by one. First of all, Indus river system, as I firstly said, it is a river system, so it will be joined by different tributaries also and distributaries also. It rises in Tibet near the Mansarovar lake. So the origination of the Indus river system is that it rises in the Tibet region near the Mansarovar lake. Thank you.